shall we start, sir? JSK, sir. JSK, sir. Sir, shall we start, sir? JSK, sir.
Yeah, you can begin.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Heartfelt welcome to all. We hope for the past 2 days you all have had an engaging and enriching session. We all know that International Women's Day is approaching on March 8th. To mark its celebration, we are elated to rope in a female speaker. We would like to invite a challenging and empowering speaker for this final day of the National Webinar Series. The eminent speaker lined up for today is Dr. P. Maladi, Assistant Professor of English, Government Arts College, Coimbatore. She is an expertise both in scholarly research and creative writing. She is a highly acclaimed and inspiring speaker. With a sense of pride, we welcome you, ma'am. With these words of commendation, I hand over the session to my friend, Professor of High Determination, Profound Wisdom and Integrity, Dr. L. Anushya Devi, to introduce the speaker and coordinate the session. Welcome you, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
audible.
Yes.
Anushya, you can continue.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Yes,
I'm
good
pleased
evening.
to introduce our today's speaker, Dr. P. Malati, Assistant Professor of English, Government Arts College of English Language. Her research area is specialized in English language teaching, creative writing, and English literature. She has presented many papers in national and international seminars and published 15 research papers in various referred international journals. Recently, she has published a paper on semblance of cultural pluralism in Akram Sheikh's novel in UGC CAT journal Third Concept. And she has authored 8 books on English language teaching and soft skills. And she serves as editor for a couple of referred journals, namely Theory and Practice in Language Studies since 2010, the Text Journal since 2019. And she is guiding and producing many MPhil and PhDs since 2014 and organized many workshops and soft skill training programs. She has been exploring many unexplored research areas in ELT, creative writing, and public speaking skills. Malati ma'am, your sound profile shows your vast research exploration in English language field. And we are so happy, ma'am, to have you as our today's resource person. And I invite you to take over the session, ma'am. Thank you. We welcome you, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good.
Am I audible?
Yes, audible. You can continue.
Yeah, sir. With a note of gratitude to the management of the college, to the principal, to the HOD of the English department, and faculty colleagues of English department there, and students who are attending, and faculty members from other colleges who are attending, I would like to get started with, because next 1 hour you're going to spare your valuable time with me. So I would like to seek the grace of God not to disappoint you. Well, let me share my presentation now. Shall I share my presentation? Ma'am, I think if my presentation is seen, you kindly acknowledge that my presentation is seen, so that I will get started quickly. 1 second, I'm sharing it. Is my screen getting shared?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. That's it. I think.
Yes, ma'am. It is visible, ma'am.
Okay. So the topic I thought of talking today is subject to diaspora and Zadie writing. Zadie Smith seems to me a little interesting. Writings are very interesting and it has a lot of diasporic elements. So I thought of why not talking about Zadie Smith? I thought. In fact, my specialization is only ELT. As I've started working in college where we teach literature, I started specializing in literature also by publishing a lot of papers. Well, let me get started with diaspora now. Subject of diaspora of Zadie. Well, now the contents of today's lecture is Zadie Smith at a glimpse, because we should get to know at least a kind of little acquaintance with Zadie Smith. Would be nice, I thought. Then oral acquaintance. I cannot make you see her here, but there are a lot of interviews there, which you can, interesting interviews, which you can see in the YouTube. And diaspora and Zadie, then subject of diaspora. I see subject of diaspora in Zadie's writings in 3 different headings. One is labor diaspora, another one is imperial diaspora and trade diaspora. So her writing made me observe these three diaspora and determinants, I mean to say the factors of the subjective diaspora or the diasporic subjectivity. Why this diasporic subjectivity and how it happens. When we discuss that, we come to see pluralistic perspectives are the causes, and eclecticism is the cause, and autobiographical elements that are seen in her writings really play a vital role in making her writing a subjective diasporic writing. And the emerging field of today, in fact, health humanities, or what you call as medical humanities, and there is a lot of scope that is, or even there you find a lot of subjective diasporic element in her writings. And finally, we are going to see the summation of the entire lecture. So I think I'm audible also. I'm continuing thinking that my PPTs are visible and I'm audible. I'm continuing. Now let's get just a glimpse on Zadie Smith. Zadie Smith was christened as Sadie Adeline Smith. We see her as Sadie Adeline Smith, but she changes her name as Zadie Adeline Smith. I would like to make an emphasis there. She is of two different origins, like her mother is a Jamaican and her father is an English. So she lives in an English land. So in that case, it becomes a need for her, could have become a need for her. She changes her name instead of calling it as Sadie, which little looks stressful or something very melancholic. Probably she would have changed a phoneme, first phoneme of her name, Sadie, to Zadie. So then the thing is, very interesting thing about her is she's a professor of creative writing. So she writes, not only writes, she's not only a novelist, she's not only an essayist, she's not only a short story writer, but she's also working as professor in New York University since 2010. And when we speak about this diaspora, I thought of getting started with a quote of Chet. In Hebrew, Gola and Galut mean diaspora. Gola connotes to dwelling in a foreign land. Usually when we, whether we read a book or whether we move from one place to another, no, so we should do it out of our interest. But every time if we ask the question whether it happens only out of interest, most of the time, no, so sometimes it is out of compulsion also, no. So when we ask our students, they will say, but out of compulsions they will study for the exams. So it is not for their passion for reading. So this happens, no, for the immigrants also. So sometimes for their lifestyle, sometimes for making their living, sometimes for other different causes, they have to migrate from one place to another. That may not be, there may not be complete willingness to migrate from one place to another. So in some cases, the migration is really long waited. So they wanted to migrate and they make a migration because they want to live in such a promised land of their dream. So they want to migrate. So this is the case. These are two different cases when we see diaspora. One, willingness for diaspora, and one with reluctance and otherwise I will not be able to make a good materialistic life. So for that sake, the diaspora happens. Okay, so let's see. Let's continue further. Zadie at a glance. Okay, let us see about certain biographical elements of Zadie before getting started with the topic. We see the pictures. Let me explain. Before, I told you that she is born of a Jamaican mother. Her name is Yoni Bailey, and she emigrated. Her mother emigrated to England in 1969, and her English father is Harvey Smith, and he is 30 years elder to her mother. When we say this, Harvey Smith, her father is 30 years elder to her mother, I again make an emphasis. This is seen in her one of her novels, her debut novels, White Teeth, and the backings are also seen in some of her novels that they also underwent a divorce. So her parents undergo a divorce, and there is a kind of an impact seen in White Teeth, where the protagonist character marries a girl with 30 years difference. Why it is 30 years difference? It's a question. No? So naturally, whether it has a cling over here becomes pondering there. Then now Willesden in northwest London borough of Brent. Then they live in that place, and that's what is shown in the map. So okay, so they live in Willesden, northwest London borough of Brent. The person who is seeing on your right is Nick Layard. This is her spouse. So this one, I would like to take a laser tool. Wait a minute. I move back. Okay, I think my laser tool is also visible to you now. So this is Nick Layard, her spouse, and this is her brother. She has two brothers and a half sister and a half brother. You see her that she had changed her name from Sadie to Zadie at the age of 14 in her teens. And Doc Brown and Luke Skies are brothers. So Doc Brown's photo is here, and here also she's with Doc Brown. Luke Sky's photo I couldn't find, and I didn't in fact explore. There are his pictures also available. Both of them look alike. In fact, they look like twins. Sometimes some pictures make me feel that these are two different entities, like, so they look very identical. Nick Layard is also a novelist and a poet. And you see that Nick Layard has authored Utterly Monkey, Glover's Mistake, Modern Gods, poems like To Fault, On Purpose, Go Janes, Feel Free, etc. They have two kids. Zadie, she has two kids. One is Catherine, another one is Harvey. 1 minute. 1 minute. Sorry for the disturbances. I stopped sharing here. 1 second. 1 second. I'm literally sorry for the disturbances. Really sorry. So let me get continued with where I stopped. I think it was this picture we were going through, this slide. There. So we see that she has two kids. Now let us see Zadie's literary accomplishments. When we see Zadie's literary accomplishments, we see White Teeth, that was published in 2000, Autograph Man, that was published in 2002, and On Beauty was published in 2005, and NW was published in 2012, and Swing Time was published in 2016. Is my PPT visible to you all?
No, ma'am, it's not visible.
Wait. Now it will be.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay. Lost you with touch with her. Okay, now. Okay, that's great. So we see that White Teeth was published in 2000, and Autograph Man was published in 2002, and On Beauty was published in 2005, and NW was published in 2012 and 2016. And the recent one is Feel Free. That she co-authored with Nick Layard, her spouse, and there was also program about that Feel Free, and these two on YouTube. So that's a wonderful link, and at the end of the session I would like to give you certain YouTube links which you can go and watch to see how interesting their literary career is as husband and wife. Now let us get into the diasporic subjects. These are some of our accomplishments in literature, not only novels but also short stories. These are her short stories. I just print pasted the Wikipedia page so that I need not sit and write over all the stories she has published. So these are some of the short stories she has published. They are Two Men Arrive in a Village, The Waiter's Wife, The Lazy River, The Girl with Bangs, The Embassy of Cambodia, Permission to Enter, Now more than ever, Moonlit Landscape with Bridge, Meet the President, Hanwell Senior, Escape from New York, Big Week, all these. So now we have seen her publications. Now let us get started with the diaspora in her writing. So when we speak about the diaspora in her writing, I would like to get started with her first novel, White Teeth. Let me summarize White Teeth very quickly so that along with the summary, we can see the diasporic elements. When I started itself, I was telling you that her Jamaican mother, see, and her English father, the same information somehow gets reiterated in the protagonist character of the story. Alfred Archibald Jones is the protagonist, and he is a friend. His friend is Samad Mia Iqbal. If you have read the story, you must be knowing what I'm telling. There are three families that have been spoken in this novel. This Alfred Archibald is addressed as Archie, and his spouse, second spouse, I have to say, is Clara Jones. Before Clara Jones, he was married to Ophelia, and he finds Ophelia's mental sickness as a big disturbance, and their wedding was at marriage was at doldrums, and he takes a divorce from her. So there is this. Then after that, the story actually starts like this: Archie wants to commit suicide because he's little disturbed by the divorce taken, and he's been prevented by a person from taking from his suicide. Then he diverts himself in the merriment of New Year celebrations and all those things. There he meets a girl called Clara. This Clara Jones actually she is from a family of Jehovah's Witness. And Clara Jones' mother seems to be this Hortense Bowden. This Hortense Bowden is a very strong believer of her religion, right? Jehovah's Witness. So when she always thinks that there is going to be a judgment day and everybody who was against her will be doomed. That kind of a cynical approach for the judgment day to see somebody getting punished will be there. That kind of a craving will also be shown in Hortense Bowden. It is not that I am going to be spared on judgment day. It is something which is to be noted that somebody I want to get punished. So that kind of cynicism is also seen in her character. She is a Jamaican woman, Hortense Bowden. She's born in Jamaica, and there is an incident that comes up, right, in the story itself, about the earthquake. 1907, actually, there was an earthquake in Jamaica. I will show you the pictures of that earthquake, and this incident is getting reflected in the story. And by that time, this Hortense Bowden is born, so she thinks it is twice she is born already. So it's almost like a death. During that time itself, she's been revived, right? So that kind of a strong belief in her religion is always there, that God will save her life. So this information, this religious installation is tried on Clara Jones, but Clara Jones was not shown as that very effective in taking up the beliefs of her ethnicity. Instead, she keeps on trying to talk to Rian Tops, a person called Rian Tops. This Rian Tops gets influenced by the religious beliefs of her mother, Hortense Bowden, and he listens to her mother, and he also converts to Jehovah's Witness. But Clara Jones marries Archibald Jones. Clara, when she marries, she was 19 years old, but Archie was not an equal to her. He was 30 years elder to Clara Jones. So it is this incident I told when I was talking about her biography. Maybe this kind of a clingover, a diasporic clingover, not only that you come away from your land. When you come away from your land, you are a black woman. For a black woman, she has to undergo a lot of compromises. So similar to that of Clara Jones. Clara Jones compromises the situation and she marries this Archibald Jones. That will be an ultimate information as the story progresses. She finds Archie to be a dull person after getting married, in fact, not very vital enough in keeping her dreams come true and all those things. So she was little dejected in the marriage also. That sort of information will get conveyed in the story as the story progresses. The story is available, by the way, in an application called Any Books. which you can download from the Play Store. When you download it from the Play Store, you will be able to get it run to, say, for about 1,000 pages, because it's an electronic device on which you have to read the story. Whereas if you read it in a book, you will not have that kind of a voluminous book reading experience. But in fact, it's a very big novel only. So it's available for anybody willing to. If you haven't read, you can try reading the book. It's a wonderful book. Then this incident, this place, is Willesden, London. Again, a note on Willesden. So that's a place of her dwelling, once again, Zadie's dwelling. Okay. So friend is Samad Mia Iqbal. This Samad Mia Iqbal, his spouse seems to be Alsana Begum. This Alsana Begum is the spouse of Clara Jones. See, these people have migrated from various places and they get settled in London. One from people have this Samad Mia Iqbal. He talks about his great grandfather, and he shows an Indian origin. You get me? His great grandfather Mangal Pandey seemed to have worked for independence, Indian independence, and he talks big about his great grandfather Mangal Pandey. And all the information that we get, these people have migrated from their homelands. We come to know that they have migrated from their homelands, but still they carry their home in them, right? Their home is there still in their brain. That lurking information sometimes are interesting to them, sometimes they are haunting to them. So that is also seen. So they give birth to Magit and Millet. They are twins. There is also a niece character and a minor character, niece of Alsana. In fact, if anybody is pursuing queer studies, would work on niece of Alsana, okay, because she is shown as a less, and she is told also in the story as niece of shame. Okay, so that's how it is informed in the story. Now, so there is a lot of elements like this, diasporic elements like this. Marcus Chalfin is shown as a Jewish genetic engineer. See, you have the people from Jamaica in the story, people from London in the story, people from India in the story, people from France in the story, and people from Africa in the story. So people from different places in one, and the story happens in Willesden, right? So this is how you see the story. And Marcus Chalfin's family, this Marcus Chalfin is a Jewish genetic scientist. It is not given as engineer, I typed as engineer, genetic scientist. And he marries Joyce Chalfin. And the religion also, you see in the entire story, you see Hinduism, characters of Hinduism. So characters who practice Jewish religion, you get me? Characters who practice Jehovah Witness, characters who practice Christianity, characters who practice like Samad Iqbal and his family, Islam, right? So people of all ethnicity you see there, right? So it is a kind of not only a multicultural setup, but a multi-ethnic setup also. So how far they are very stern and stubborn in their religious belief, and how the story progresses. So this Millet and Magit have been sent, they will be, his father, Samad will send Millet and Magit, the twins, out. Millet will suffer. Before that, Millet will undergo a lot of drug addiction. So the current incident that had been the contemporary situation of any nation, drug addiction is a threat, a menace to any country. That has been highlighted. In many of the stories, you get a kind of drug addiction concept getting introduced. And similarly, some queer element concepts also getting introduced into the stories to show that it is totally postmodernistic and it is a contemporary world in which people are living, and they undergo a kind of self-actualization. You speak about an approach in literature, self-actualization. No? So they undergo a kind of a self-actualization. That's what you see in the diaspora of Zadie. Then when you speak about the movements, Poppy Bird Jones and Mo Hussain Ismail, this butcher actually saves Archie from suicide. That's why I pasted the name. And Marcus Chaplin works for a doctor. When Marcus Chaplin, we come to know that Marcus Chaplin is working for a doctor. That is Mark Peary Perrett. This Mark Peary Perrett is told to be shot dead by Archie to Samad Iqbal when they were working on a battlefield, right? They were soldiers. So it was World War time. So that is also picturized. So you have a battlefield experience also. And Samad Iqbal believes as there was a gunshot sound, and Archie also says that he has been shot dead because he's been considered to be an anti-social element, provoking so many unnecessary things into the society. So he comes and tells Samad Iqbal that he killed him in the battlefield itself. But this character again will pop up at the end. So it's a kind of projection and given to certain beliefs. No? So when you see this Archibald as a person, he's not following his religious beliefs properly. He's telling lies. You get me? So telling a lie to either to prevent a person, but the person is not a right person to be prevented. He was actually spreading diseases to society. That's why I told you there is a scope for medical humanities also in the novel. He will be funding a project, and he will be making this Marcus Chaplin work under him, where Marcus Chaplin will be working on a project called Future Mouse Experiment. This Future Mouse Experiment is actually creating a genetic disorder in a mouse to develop cancerous cells. So the mouse will develop cancerous cell when it goes to a particular place. So that atmospheric ambience, if it is not agreeing with the physique of the mouse is genetically modified in such a situation to develop carcinogenic ingredients in its body. So it becomes a disease carrier. So a kind of a biowar threat is induced. So why this project has been worked on meticulously becomes a question for which even the children of the stories shown as Irie is the daughter of the first family, so the Clara and Archibald. So Irie and Millet and Majid, all these people will be dead against this project of Future Mouse project. But what will happen at the end? The mouse will escape. And the story climax, Archibald Jones will try to kill Marcus when Marcus was lecturing in a place, but by then he will fall on the mouse that he has been working on, and the mouse will also get affected, and this mouse will escape from the place. We can take it in two ways. One, the problem, which is instead of getting it aggravated, the problem gets stopped. We can go for one interpretation. Another one, the problem did not stop. As the mouse escapes, it will create problems, right? Medical problems, biological problems, as you have seen already in Tamil movies, and plague, so it can carry plague. India witnessed plague several times. So similarly, this mouse will become a carrier of a carcinogenic product now. The mouse itself is carcinogenic now, so it is a cancer creator. So that's how it is devised, genetically modified. So that will become a problem. So this has a scope. This novel gives a scope for a medical experiment also. So how this health studies is getting associated in this novel, and what we see in the diaspora. That's what we are going to see. Launching Future Mouse project. There have been, knowingly or unknowingly, there could be a lot of experiments. Legal and banned experiments. We may not be knowing what is happening in the entire world. So launching Future Mouse experiment of Marcus Chaplin. So that has become a threat. So in the previous slide, I have given two moments. One is a fate moment, that is fighting animal torture and exploitation. There are so many moments to prevent the animal exploitation for the sake of scientific experiments, or for the sake of showing them on cinema, and for the sake of domesticating for unnecessary materialistic purposes, right? So all these things, there are, statutory many movements to protest against, right? So even then, what happens? There are so many antisocial elements happening. So that's what is the story projected. Then these people work for that particular family, works for Mark Perry Perret. Marcus is a genetic scientist who works for Mark Perry Perret, but at the same time, his wife seems to be a horticulturalist. She seems to be very good, and she's projected in a very modest way. And inducing cancer into a mouse is a genetic modification, which we have discussed already. Growth of cancer stages will be studied by this person, Marcus. Okay, so he will be studying how the cancer is getting developed into the body of the mouse, and he will be injecting the mouse to get the cancer getting developed. So all those stages of studies seen in the novel can be taken under health studies also. That is happening today around us in the contemporary world for medical researches. We take animals and we in fact torture them. That's why there is also a movement called a fate movement created fictitiously by Zadie Smith. World war, we speak about bio war through animals. There could be an interpretation that it is for a kind of a bio war. And protest against genetic project, the characters themselves will protest. And one other information I forgot to tell you, that is the DNA test of Irie to find out about the child, whose child Irie bears in her womb. Whether it is millets or Majid, Irie herself will not know. That's a very saddest thing as a story. I did not tell you the entire story. I told you the incidences of the story, whichever is very essential for the diasporic, subjective diaspora. So here, this situation, not DNA test, this DNA test, it talks about, when we talk about this DNA test, it can be perceived under health studies or medical humanities, or it also, you can go for one interpretation that it is happening in the postmodern world. So you have big scope of speaking about historic realism there. So a kind of historicism with reality combined that you see there. So I told you that there is an implication of an earthquake scene in the novel, and that is this 1907. There is a Kingston earthquake that happened. Really, that is Jamaican capital. See, that is what this picture is copied from Wikipedia, and I have pasted it on my slide. So see, 1907 Kingston earthquake. I take a laser tool. Kingston earthquake, which shook the capital of the island of Jamaica with a magnitude of 6.2 Richters. See, so this is not a falsified detail. This detail is shown in the novel also. And the impact of that earthquake, these pictures are there available in Wiki and other resources. When I Googled it, I got these pictures of Jamaican earthquake that had happened in 1907, what kind of a dilapidation and destruction and the havoc happened because of that earthquake. Now let us come to discuss what is diaspora here and how this diaspora is too subjective, right? So the term diaspora finds its roots in the Greek language. Actually, that is from Hebrew into Greek and is based in the translation of Hebrew words. See, I told you in the beginning of the first lecture, in the first slide itself, Galut and Gola. So Galut, Hebrew word Galut, it intends that, based on spiro, which means to sow, and it should take a preposition as per the linguistic rules, that is dia, which means over in the Greek language. So that word refers to migration and colonization. In Hebrew, when we speak, the term initially referred to setting of colonies of Jews outside. First, it intended only Jew, the race of Jews, right? Palestine, and after Babylonian exile has assumed more general connotation of people settled away from their ancestral homelands. This is the perspective of Schuell. I'm quoting Schuell here. It was published in 2003. So I would like to quote Schuell once again, Judith Schuell, once again, that's why I gave the full name here, in 2002, underlined that before 1960s, immigrant groups were generally expected to shed their ethnic identity and assimilate to local norms. Groups that were thought unable to do this weren't admitted. Example, Chinese to Canada, non-whites to Australia. So this was the situation in 1960s. Now let us see what happened in 70s also. I have an audio file. I recorded it and in my voice and I pasted it here.
During the 70s, when assimilation theory and other theories based on the same meaning of integration models demonstrated their fallibility, the notion of diaspora occurred progressively to describe migrant groups, migrants maintaining their ethnic tradition, a strong feeling of collectiveness. This is cited from Bruno 1995, Dorai et al. 1998, and Schuel 2003.
So this is what you see from the experts are talking about.
During the 70s.
One second. I move on to the next one. Hope you have heard that audio also. Then the theory of diaspora was published by Gabriel Schaeffer with Armstrong in his paper, Mobilized and Proletarian Diasporas, in the American Political Science Review in 1976. Gabriel Schaeffer, you see, in his book, Modern Diasporas in International Politics, that is in 1986, he gives his perspectives. No? So he opines it to be a blunder to maintain the concept of diaspora only for Jewish people. So we cannot see, in the beginning they were seeing that it is only for Jewish race. So it is not only for Jewish race. Slowly, because there are also people, others would have existed. That's what is quoted by Gabriel Schaeffer. Only then it was taken into intention to explore into other migrants. So such as Nabateans, Phoenicians, and Assyrians. So this is quoted from, it is not quoted, it is cited from Gabriel Schaeffer. So Robin Cohen also speaks in 1997 in Global Diasporas. Excuse me. An introduction continued to underline the lack of theorization and publication. So here, that is where it is being published. That is where it is being published. And see, the diasporas and suggests that Jewish archetypal could be a base for reflection, even if it couldn't be transposable model. So the problem is, even if it is not a transposable model, even if it is not a transposable model, so there was a kind of a base reflection that is only from Jewish race. Safran says this is really very simplified form of saying diaspora to understand it in a better way. So you see expatriate minority communities. Zedi's characters are expatriate from minority communities. They are not only, you not only see the diaspora is more, it has a subjectivity in it. So they have a kind of a belongingness to their homeland. Even Zedi, in one of her interviews, she will be given an opportunity. She will ask the interviewer, if I am given an opportunity, what kind of a question would you pose me? So that question gives a clue for the belongingness. I have pasted that also in one of the maybe slides yet to come. I'll show you. So the expatriate minority communities, Safran says the definition of diaspora, he witnesses it in these 6 divisions. Then people dispersed from original center, at least 2 peripheral places, 2 different places, right? So people maintain a memory, vision, myth about their original homeland. Whatever mythical information they carry, whatever vision they have for themselves, whatever originality they have gained from their homeland, they carry everything along with them to the place of where they displaced. You get me? So where they go as an immigrant. Then people who believe, so you see all these characteristic features, all these elements in the characters of Zedi's writing. People who believe they are not and perhaps cannot be fully accepted by their host country. So the host country also will not accept them completely. So you are a black by blood, maybe you are a hybrid, that kind of a tendency with which the country will look at them. So not living in a place, there is a novel by Zedi, that is NW. In NW, the postal code is NW, which refers to Northwest London. So there, it's a place, Williston is again gaining a significance there. So it is a place for people who are literally economically deprived. You find 4 different characters called Leah, Natalie, Felix, and Nathan living. They're of same age group, adults. they are living. And there are 4 quarters in which the story is told in NW, which was published in 2016. I told you in the beginning, no? So that story. So there you see again, no? So that kind of this 4th point. So the country, where do they belong? The host country sometimes will not fully accept them. So that kind of melancholic strain will be always there. That again kindles the subjectivity in diaspora. Those who await their ancestral home as a place for their eventual abode in future. This is the reason Indian immigrants outside, no? So what they do, they earn a lot, and there is always a kind of longing and a long awaited desire to come back to India with all the materialistic benefits they have accumulated, the wealth they have hoarded. They want to come back to India. Indian immigrants, many of them would, like any immigrant for that matter, there is a kind of desire to go back to their homeland to get established well and to get settled peacefully, at least at the end of their lifetime. So even though they go behind materialistic life to a period of time, after one particular point of time, everyone takes a decision, or some people at least accomplishes their desire of coming back to their homeland with whatever income they have made or with whatever wealth they have made. So that happens. Those who await their ancestral home. So there are instances for such things in Zaidie's writing, and I quoted NW. So what happens here? The story book which you see, no, so the novel which you see to your left side, that is the autograph man. In every template, I purposely pasted that book called The Autograph Man. I'll tell you that at the end. Right? So those who await their ancestral home as a place for their eventual abode in future, and this is what I was explaining. Then people committed to the maintenance or restoration of this homeland, and which the group's consciousness. And it is, when you define it, it is a continuing relationship with the homeland. So some people, what they do, they don't want to come back, but at the same time, they would like to continue with the relationship with their homeland, and they don't want to break it off. They want to renovate, they want to rejuvenate certain things, and they want to invest in their homeland. So they want to restructure their homeland. So that effort is also, that effort of instances relevant to that effort seen in Zaidie are definitely subjective in diaspora. Then this is what I told. It is taken from one of the interview clippings of Zaidie. You just look, if you look at the arrow mark alone, you come to see, I take a laser tool here. So you come to see that if you could ask Rihanna, so Rihanna is interviewing Zaidie here. If you could ask a question, if you could ask Rihanna one question, what would it be? Is the question, right? So Zaidie is telling, Zaidie is permitted to ask a question by the interviewer. So far she was answering the question, and now she's been given an opportunity to ask a question to the interviewer. The interviewer is Rihanna. So Rihanna herself is telling this, if you could ask Rihanna one question, what would it be? So Zaidie replies like this: I know you are a Bajan woman with Afro-Guineas and Irish roots. See, here again, the diaspora element comes. So you don't belong to a single country now. So you belong to, your roots are from 2 different countries, I see. So have you traced your people back through African European history is the question. So have you traced your people back through African and European history? And if so, what did you find? The question did not stop there. Suppose you are successful in finding your roots, you have tracked your route, then what did you find? Tell me, what did you find, and what did it mean to you, and how do you see that? That is what she intends asking. So it is a strong belief that we should always carry. It is a strong belief that we should find out the roots of our homeland that has been lurking there in Zaidie, that is seen even in the question opportunity that has been given to her, right? In one of the interviews. I move on to the next slide to show there comes the subjectivity even in the question. That's where the subjectivity, that gave me the clue for the subjectivity, in fact, that question, because of which I titled the entire lecture as subjectivity, diasporic subjectivity or subjective diaspora in Zeri's writing, and that is of course true. And there I was able to get a lot of evidences for that, which I'm discussing with you all in this lecture. So typologies, when we speak about this diaspora, typologies of 90s describe diasporas like this. I have taken these, I cite Alain Medem proposed a typology based on the degree of cohesiveness and dynamism of diasporic organization. Medem differentiates crystallized diaspora and fluid diaspora. If you speak of crystallized diasporas now, so here you see the diaspora which is very efficient, dynamic, and they make a materialistic benefit. And for example, you have a lot of Chinese traders coming and getting settled in very many places all over the world and making good trade and good business. Then Michael Bruno in 1995 defined three major types of diasporas. So they are entrepreneurial diasporas, that is Chinese or Lebanese, and then religious diasporas and political diasporas. This is cited from, these types are taken from Michael Bruno. And when I talk about this entrepreneurial diaspora, you see Chinese and Lebanese coming and getting settled, and you see religious diasporas, Jews and Greeks, under religious diasporas, and political diasporas, you see Palestinians and Tibetans. Okay, because of political pressure, they immigrate from a place to place. Because of ethnic spreading, people move away from one place to another, or entrepreneurial diasporas, for the matter of trading, they go from one place to another. So that's what we see in these three classifications. Now, let us see Cohen's perspective also. So all these perspectives of Cohen, before that we saw about Alain Medem and Michael Bruno, you can associate very well with Zeri's diaspora, right? So diaspora you see in Zeri. Robin Cohen in 1997 response says some empirical observations he had made, and there he spoke about labor diasporas. So you see Indians as labor diaspora all over the world. Nobody can say I'm not exaggerating the fact. In fact, so nobody can say no to that. Many Indians are working outside as laborers. So then imperial diaspora. Colonization, we speak about Britain, colonization, that is imperial diaspora. They come from their land to show that they are dominant, superior to us in some way, and they have the capacity of administration and ruling, so they colonized Indians. So that happened in many countries. So the imperial diaspora. And the trade diaspora, they carried their information, no? So that information is passed on here. So many the English medium schools and the English education, you speak about Lord Macaulay's type of education today. So everything, it is all happened because of imperial diaspora. The trade diasporas and Chinese and Lebanese coming for trading, right? So that is again reinstated by Robin Cohen. This was spoken already in the previous persons also. So then, cultural diaspora with Caribbean case. Well, now,
by mentioning Palestinians and Tibetans, Gabriel Scheffer, the author, has introduced clearly the political dimension which was underrepresented in the diaspora literature. 7 years after the publication of his book, Scheffer proposed to operate a distinction between diasporas, those without state of origin, called stateless diasporas, example Palestinians, and those with a state of origin defined as state-based diaspora. This typology allows the description of the fluidity of the forms of organization in ethnic groups along their history. As for the Jews who were state-based, stateless, and since 1948, state-based, Robin Cohen in 1997, in response at this territorial point of view, proposed a typology set upon some empirical observations.
That's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing now. So based on that only, Cohen says this, and I have given you the reason from where it had come from. Now let us further explore into subjective diaspora. The diaspora discourse in its culture dimension offered a large place to the notion of hybridity, So this is quoted from Shivalyan. So I just skip off certain quotations, but at the same time, there's very vital questions I would like to focus here. We have yet more informations like pluralism, discussion on that. So I quickly move on as we run short of time. Robin Cohen says the notion of diaspora. No? So when we find out from Robin, it is used first in the classical world and has acquired renewed importance in late 20th century, he says. Right? That is the perspective of Cohen. So it gains a renewed significance only in late 20th century. So that is the idea of Robin. Once the term applied principally to Jews, suppose you connected only with Jews, right? So less commonly to Greeks and Armenians and Africans. So it was like that in the beginning. Then slowly, from Sheffer, we came to understand that it is not only for Jews, it is also for other races. Then now at least 30 ethnic groups declare that they are a diaspora or so deemed as diaspora by others. We have diasporic writers now like Zeli. Then frightened by the extent of international migration and their inability to construct a stable pluralist or social order, many states have turned away from the idea of assimilating and integrating their ethnic minorities. So when they move from one place to another, this diaspora, what happens? They forget, sometimes it's a kind of affinity because of which they try to get accustomed with the culture of the multicultural land where they stay, where they migrate, or willing transformation. That's a kind of a willing transformation to that particular culture and traits, right? So you see that also in Zeri's novels, instances for that. Every novel, I'm not quoting, I tell you certain places where she, in fact, you see that Irie wills to live like a Jehovah Witness. So she wills to lead such a life. So you a kind of a land which really is very attractive. You take the swing time, there is a craving of dance that has been seen. No? So the dance interest was also seen in Zadie herself. So the interest to dance, tap dance, that was there in Zadie herself, she says in one of the interviews. So, but this kind of a subjectivity is seen in the characters. There you see two brown girls, future, Amy and Tracy, trying to become dancers. That's their pursuit. That's a story about the swing time. That was also based on a movie, Swing Time, right? So that's why I have pasted two pictures that will be in the consecutive slides. Then why these sudden proclamations? How have diasporas changed? So these questions, if we explore, definitely that will become a very big scope for research. Then determinants of subjective diaspora. We see pluralism as the prime determinant for subjective diaspora. There you see cultural pluralism, the pluralism of the culture in the land where this diaspora stay. So that is a kind of this pressure on them, a kind of transformation, whether to get accustomed to their beliefs and to leave off or shirk off our responsibilities and our ethnic values becomes a question that keeps lingering in the heart of everybody who goes to a multicultural land. Then societal pluralism. You see societies are also pluralistic. You see this very well in NW. You see 4 adolescent people striving in their life in societal pluralism. And when you speak about ethnic pluralism, naturally, even Whiteheath itself, it gives you a lot of scope for ethnic pluralism, where you find a lot of ethnicity, people of different characters belonging to different ethnic groups. Then linguistic pluralism, you see people speaking different languages staying in one particular land. And corporate pluralism, you see medical field, corporate industry in biomedical field in the story. You see corporate world in the field of media in stories like, and cinema, movies in the story like Swing Time. And even Whiteheath was a musical, it was taken as a musical, and I think Ompuri has acted in the White Teeth episode. You see Ompuri have been acted, starred in White Teeth episode. So you have seen all these things. So you see the corporate pluralism is not only seen inside the novel, but the corporate pluralism in tandem works with the establishment of the novel in different forms, right? Into the form of media, into the form of print, into the form of enactment, into the form of musical. So that way also it works in tandem. So you see inside the novel and the novel in different manifestations now. Then genetic pluralism. So different species you see in the novel, and in the fiction of Zadie gives a scope for the discussion on genetic pluralism. So from reading all the stories that I have indicated here, The Autograph Man, The Swing Time, NW, On Beauty, and White Teeth, you understand that there is a big scope for discussion of these pluralistic perspectives, which are the prime cause for the subjective diaspora. That's why I have quoted this, and I have quoted certain instances from the story. Then when we speak about eclecticism, that is also as a determinant for kindling this kind of subjective diaspora. We see Zadie Smith's literary taste and inspiration remains eclectic. She lists Kafka, Nabokov, Virginia Woolf, David Foster Wallace, and E.M. Forster amongst her reading. This interest she actually gains, Virginia Woolf, E.M. Forster, all these, this interest she gains from her mother's book reading capacity, and she takes the books and reads, and that's what she says. No, Zadie opens up. Now this is the quote by Zadie. Zadie opens up about her eclectic inspirations, where she states, "I was reading a lot of Victorian fiction and everything on my mother's shelves. I was reading a lot of inappropriate books like Our Bodies, Ourselves, and various kinds of feminist fiction that she had." She connotes to her mother here, right? So my mom had this very eclectic bookshelf, partly because she wasn't particularly educated herself, and neither was my father. But they had an idea that if they bought books with penguins on the spine, this was a sign of quality. So they had a belief that penguins is known for quality. So they would go to car boot sales, etc. See the etc. how it is given a Latinate version of etc. In addition, it means we usually write etc. So even in the quote, how do you see? There is a linguistic diaspora that is seen. No? So etc. And that's real Latin. So and buy these books. In addition, we buy these books, right? So that is what is seen, said by Zadie. So we have ample proof that these pluralistic perspectives or eclectic perspectives do kindle the subjective diaspora in her beliefs and in her writings. Autobiographical elements play a very vital role, in fact. The name change is not only seen in Zadie's life, that is seen in the life of Natalie, one of her characters in NW. So Natalie changes her name as Keisha. So she changes the name to Keisha. She thinks that she will better suit the place only if she changes her name. Then the sense of dressing, people, the characters, they get accustomed to their outfits, change of outfits because by the land on which they are migrated. So mannerisms. The mannerisms, for that I will show you certain proofs that you see in the characters as well as in Zadie. In migration, Galuth, two types of migration you see in her novels, Galuth as well as Gola, willing and unwilling. Then multiculturalism, we have discussed a lot about it. Autobiographical implications. Zadie Smith, I'm just highlighting very important things. I think I'm running short of time, so I have to finish it off in time. So I leave the PPT with the conveners of this program. Maybe if you're interested, you can get back and you can read about this autobiographical implications. And here I have given ample evidences that how it is subjective diaspora with the help of quotations and citations from Philip Tew and from English and from Smith herself. right? So that's what. So there is an opportunity to see her name change. See, Sadie Adler Smith is changed into Sadie Adler Smith. So this is seen in her character called Natalie. The Swing Time was based on movie, and then that is the time given to, that is the title given to her. Here she says, no, my mother was a feminist, says the narrator. She herself says, my mother was a feminist. And this is said by Zadie. And that feministic perspectives, with that, whatever books she read, Virginia Woolf and others, Zadie was also interested in. You find a stream of consciousness technique of this Virginia in one of her novels, that is NW. Yes, of course. So that impact is seen. Mother's interest carried over to the daughter, and that automatically, it is a kind of a literary taste, So when you read, you relish reading, you relish the technique. Sometimes you unawares, you imbibe the technique. So that novel is also, you find a stream of consciousness there. Then the features described by the narrator in the novel, like, see, the narrator describes about the freckles there. It is a novel called On Beauty. No, it is in Swing Time only. Swing Time, she talks about freckles. And this is Zadie, and you see freckled face of Zadie, right? Personal experience. In an interview with David Baddiel, she expresses her childhood desire for dancing. So it is her own desire, and she makes the narrator speak in subjective tone. The entire story goes in subjective tone. The narrator will be speaking for a long time, and you will know one dancer's name for a long time. And Tracy and Amy Dunn. So these two people would like to become brown girls, right? So they want to get accomplished in dancing. So she will be talking about their struggles and how one is more flourishing and one is not able to come to the limelight. So that information will also be there. So here I have given you a YouTube link. This YouTube link will give you a better idea about whatever I have spoken about Swing Time. If you're interested, if you would like to refer, you can go to this YouTube video and watch the interview of Zadie about Swing Time. Then habituated Googling of people is described. Today you see everybody Googling, so people Googling. It's not only seen in her novel characters, it is also shown in one of her, it is in intimations, I think. Yes, it is not fiction. It is where she talks about, it's a pandemic literature, where she tells about, where she makes one character discuss about the other. A black American will be describing about the white American's child which has a tablet in hand, to see what these mothers are looking after the children like that. So a kind of a criticism made against the utility of gadgets by children at a very tender age. Okay, that should not spoil a kind of a health consciousness that is being spoken. That is also there in YouTube. In one of the see, most of the Zadie Smith's pictures, you find her hair, she would have draped it with a cloth, covered hair. Is it because of Jewish roots? That is, and the hair straightening. See here, this picture only I posted in the this picture only I posted in the first slide. This picture only I posted in the first slide. A kind of a hair straightening is done by one of the characters, Leah, in NW. So, and she's and that effort becomes a flop, and she loses her hair, and in the straightening effort she gets her hair burnt. So she talks about that incident which happened to one of her characters. So hair straightening effect of Leah's observed in her fiction. Is that because a kind of, one place you find her with this kind of a hair, one place you find her with this kind of a hair. Is it because of hair straightening becomes a question? So these are some of the explanations that I made, and I'm showing it to you. So health humanities, I would like to quote Paul Hahnemann. The emerging genetic imaginary highlights evoking recent trends, sociological, anthropological work that meaningful kinship relation rely on biological as much as on cultural discourses and interpretations, especially in post-colonial and migrant contexts, and where genetic markers become charged with conflicting notions of connections and otherness. So this is what has been told by Paul Hanman. So there is ample scope in her writings for health humanities and medical humanities also certainly. So mishap in the research of microbiologists and genetic engineers, that mishap, because of that mishap, medical mishap, what happens? Dental alignment of Clara. She will not, Irie will not know. Irie is the daughter of Clara, will not know that mother is using a denture. Denture, you get me? Artificial teeth. And that's why the even the picture shows, no, it is arranged like teeth, as you have teeth, no, white teeth. So white teeth will, if you think about the title, the white teeth has a significance. It will last for a long time. Flesh and blood will go off. If you bury the person, the teeth will remain for a long time, long period of time, to tell the history of a person, to tell the history of a race. Even in when you many of the archaeological experiments, there you get a lot of fossil fuels, bones of skeletons of the animals, with which you explore how the ancestral life would have been. So you make a lot of research and research results you discuss. So teeth is common, whether irrespective of your race, color, complexion, ethnicity, everything. Teeth, white teeth, that talks about it is something humane, right? So that's why she could have titled it as white teeth, I suppose. And there are so many interpretations like that also. In addition, it is a kind of eternity. So only for values are eternal. So wherever the diaspora is, the value should be carried on, so that it is eternal. In whichever way I'm interpreting it that way. So whichever way you would like to give an interpretation, you can also explore into it, right? So white teeth gives ample opportunity for title significance itself. In fact, I did not touch upon it, so I just threw some light on that. Then this is not Martha and Hanwell is not a novel, but a short story. Then this is also not a novel. So I have posted these pictures to show that how the drug abuse is seen, and how the antisocial elements, how people easily become victims, especially adults in their teenage. So you see a literary hodgepodge entirely here in her fiction, which gives ample scope for diasporic subjectivity. Genre is itself different. She tries her hand in fiction, short stories, essays, etc. And she seems to be she has her expertise in that. And approaches, if you want to, if you ask me, then you have a lot of theoretical approach that you can, for research that you can pursue on her, like realistic approach, postmodernistic approach, historical realism, migration studies, multiculturalism, culture studies, health humanities, psychodynamics, and new sincerity. It's an emerging field, again, new sincerity. Then thematic approach, when you speak, you can speak about inheritance. I did not list out a lot. Instead, I just gave very important things only. Inheritance. Where is my inheritance actually? So what kind of adaptability I'm into? So racial discrimination that a person, a diaspora suffers, and Holocaust. Okay, Holocaust literature, of course you can call it, because she talks about war elements you find in death, war elements, and havoc of because of the battle. Everything you find in her literature. Then myths and archetypes of the diaspora, they carry when they travel from one place to another. The myth and archetypal images they carry with them. So that is also, so you have ample choices to make your research in these fields. And technique, stream of consciousness, and self-actualization, I inferred from her novels. And you have a lot of literary devices which I did not type it there, but you find a lot of languages lucid enough, imagery, and you find anachronism there, anachronistic element. So many things you can perceive under her writings. So these are, I find, to be the determinants of subjective diaspora. So I have tabulated it. From whatever I've read, I've tabulated it. So you find places like Jamaica, London, France, Africa, Italy, from each novel, right? Alex Lee Tandem is the character. Jewish Chinese origin, with Kitty, with American Russian actress. So he goes behind her. He sells autographs and makes a living. I told you in the beginning, that's about autograph man. So celebrities, going behind celebrities has become that is also a part of a contemporary belief, a kind of a fan club and all those things. I told you, I have pasted this book. So today you find a lot of fan clubs and going behind celebrity by adults. That's why. So On Beauty is about a British American family living in USA. It talks about two British American family, again British American family, and whether they have identification, recognition there, everything is discussed. You can work on detail. Then NW, I have given ample instances, quoted instances from here also. These are the four friends you see, Leah, Natalie, Felix, and Nathan. Then Swing Time, you find Amy Tan and Tracy, two girls. And these are the religions that you see in her novels. One more information, community center experience of Majid and Millet. Majid and Millet would take their guns and try to shoot people when they are against, so they become the activist of this movements, for talk for animals. When they talk for animals, they want to shoot this Marcus. By that time, what will happen? This person, Archie, will fall on the mousetrap. That's what will happen. For doing that, they will be put in community center. So Millet and Majid, as both of them are identical twins, it is similar to that of a story incident that I can see a comparison with the Tamil movie. So the novel came, Zedi's novel came well in advance. Thadayam was after that only. Thadayam only, I think. So you find Arun Vijay acted in two roles, double roles. So Tamil movie, so because they are identical twins, they will not be punished. But here they are identical twins, both of them will be put in community center. Then, so that is little different, but there again, that has a kind of iteration for me. So I felt like quoting there, making a comparison. Then DNA test similarity. So DNA test also will not prove that they are two different people because they are identical twins. That will also be tried in the Tamil movie, as you see. That's also there in Zedi's novel. Then Archie falls on the infected monster. This I told you. This is similar to that of Matran's climax. So you find a lot of rats coming and biting the father character of the hero there in Matran movie. So of Tamil. So I thought of indicating that these are some of the YouTube references which I found to be very interesting. So if you're interested, you can take a screenshot of this and then you can go back to this YouTube videos where you can see Zedi speaking with Chimavananda Adichie and Michael Chabon, another writer, Ira Glass, Michael Chabon and Zadie Smith. That's really interesting. This particular first one, fact or fiction. That's a wonderful, I thought of showing little clipping from there, but I don't think that I'll have time to show you. Two videos I thought of showing you from online, but I give you the detail here. You can go and watch at your convenient time. Then Zadie Smith and Jeffrey Eugene on writing, right? So Zadie Smith's interview, such a painful knowledge. Sometimes the knowledge, subject of diaspora becomes a painful knowledge. These are the references from which I have compiled my entire lecture, and my references are there. If you have any questions, I am ready to answer you. I think, ma'am.
Anisha, ma'am.
Thank you, Malati. Really a wonderful presentation of different types of diasporas. We acquired our knowledge on diaspora. It gives a vast scope for and we have got some questions from participants. Ma'am, the question is asked by Tychicus Williams. He asked, have all the diaspora writers personally undergone the experience, or is there any writer who have observed the diasporic people and wrote about it in an objective way?
Good question. Very good. the question. I haven't read all diasporic writers. I have read a few diasporic writers. So among that knowledge which I have gained, I would like to answer this question of Taishicius Williams. That's a person who has asked this question, who told me, no, madam. Okay. Here, the diasporic writers, most of the writers try to keep themselves objective. Even I told you one particular YouTube video, no, fact or fiction. There, Michael Chabon will be asking a question to Zadie, whether it is a fictitious fact or fact that is not. It is totally a fact. That's the question with which they get started with the interview. For that, I would like to quote Zadie herself. What Zadie herself had said about this. Okay, so for that, Zadie says, no, Zadie says it is not only fiction. I can tell that in what way I felt with my mother, with my father, totally and transparent in my writings. But at the same time, if I say something the way I felt with my brother, when he reads a text, he would not be able to accept it. He would have seen the same incident in his own perspective. So, what is subjective to you may not be subjective to the person you address in the story itself. That's the idea conveyed by Zadie. So, if you take that into argument or discussion, this subjective is to the dimension of the writer himself or herself to say whether it is totally objective diaspora or subjective diaspora. So, we will not be able to completely analyze, but maybe 90% we can, 80 to 85% we can say whether the diaspora, only the obvious things or known things or evident things where you can find out places where you can say it could be subjective diaspora. Not in every.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. One more question.
Yeah.
How new diaspora affect imperialistic world? What do you think about it?
Marxism in literature is the best way to answer this. When we speak about Marxism in literature, we speak about the power structure. When we speak about the power structure, we speak about the superstructure and we speak about the base structure. The superstructure is the answer for the imperialism on the diaspora. It is education, literature, advertisement, everything. So today, that caters to the need of superstructure than the base structure. So the base structure, a person, a cobbler, who is working on manufacturing shoes, right? So he is not in a position to buy his shoe, or he has to give his 1 month package to buy the shoe. So in that case, he would not afford buying the shoe which he produces. And he is working for capitalist. So in that case, this is the situation. You see two different layers of the superstructure and base. So wherever you see the scope of these two layers in literature, that's the best evidence will be realized.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. One more question.
Yeah.
How can we relate cultural studies with the diaspora?
Certainly. Diaspora and cultural studies are interlinked. When you study about the culture, the practices, the societal taboos, and all those things, naturally, when you speak about the immigrants, their perspective, their subjectivity, their strength and weakness in an alien land, you take in the picture. See, for example, you speak about Chitra Banerjee or people like Chitra Banerjee, which, all of that, Mr. Spices, and you find the character, Philotoma, Philo. He's called as Philo, and this Philo goes and lives in an alien land, and she's the mistress of spices there. And she finds it very difficult to come out. Every time there is a kind of but she could not come. There is a restriction. So you would have seen Where I found in the movie also, in some places. But even Chitra Banerjee herself in one of the interviews says that there are differences. Of course, that is director's perspective, so I did not intervene, she says, when she answers the question to the interviewer. But there are certain differences from novel and when it was made into a movie. When you see this Aishwarya Rai, even that Aishwarya Rai will not intend to come out of the spice bazaar as it was a condition. It is to show that in multicultural land, you will not try to use immediately, but at the same time, slowly and gradually, it is a kind of an impact over by the society over you. You feel it building. That is not an immediate willing yielding in everyone. So when you talk about this cultural calamity that is happening, naturally diaspora gets interlinked, I think.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now I hand over the session to the conveners. Thank you.
Sorry for delaying it.
Vidya, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for moderating the session. May I kindly invite one or two participants to give their feedback? Any one or two? May I kindly invite one or two participants to give their feedback?
Hello everyone, this is Brishma SJ from the Department of English SF. So I attended all the 3 sessions and I felt that the 3 topics are completely different and they are all wholesome, and all the 3 speakers particularly they spoke out in a very lucid way which made us understand the concepts very well. So I thank all the people behind this national webinar, and I thank you for organizing such a wonderful webinar for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Brishma. No function can take a shape without a hardworking leader. Helmed as the leader and a professor of vivacious energy, I would like to invite Dr. M. Meena Devi, the convener of the webinar, to propose vote of thanks. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Vidya ma'am.
And this is
And
time
this
for
is time for
expressing
expressing
our
our
gratitude
gratitude
to
to
all
all
those who
those who
extended
extended
their
their
helping
helping
hands
hand for the
for the
successful
successful
conduct
conduct
of
of
this
this
national
national webinar.
webinar.
And
And
at
at
the
the
outset,
outset,
I'd
I'd
like
like
to
to express our
express
heartfelt
thanks
thanks
to
to
our
our magnanimous
managing
managing
board
board
and
and
our
our
principal,
principal, Dr.
Dr. P.
Captain
Sundarapalyan,
Dr.
for
P.
their support in
Sundarapalyan,
live streaming the
for
webinar
their
in
support in live
YouTube.
streaming the webinar in YouTube in our college official website. And next, we thank our beloved head of the department, Dr. J. Shamil Krubahar, a benevolent person who is our head as well as our friend, for his excellent support and encouragement in all our endeavors towards organizing this 3-day webinar. Thank you, sir. And we profusely thank our resource persons for all 3 days, Dr. Muhammad Khani from Sadakatullah College, Tirunelveli, Dr. Kaviyarasu from Vivekananda College, Agasthiswaram, and Dr. Malati, today's speaker from Government Arts College, Coimbatore, for accepting our invitation and spending their precious time with us, and also for their knowledge sharing. Thank you all. And we thank all our colleagues who are with us in whatever efforts we put in for this webinar. Thank you, our dear friends, for your excellent cooperation with us. We thank the research scholars of our department for their timely help in all 3 days. Our special thanks goes to the MCA students of our college, Mr. Madan, Mr. Manikanda Prabhu, and Mr. Akash. From the beginning of the webinar, we can say the preparation of the invitation, registration form, feedback link, and everything is done by those students only, and they are with us till the end of the seminar. Thank you so much, guys. And we also thank Mr. Professor Prem Shankar from the Department of BCA, our computer lab technicians, Mr. Ganapati and Mr. Makesh, for their technical support in live streaming this webinar in YouTube. And finally, words are not enough to express our heartfelt thanks to all the participants without whom this webinar would not be a successful one at all, for their overwhelming response and also for their active participation. And we hope that the webinar will be of immense help, immense use, and enriched your knowledge in the chosen fields. And these 3 days are memorable days for us, and we hope that you would also have the same feelings. On behalf of our Department of English Fraternity of VHNSN College, we thank you all once again. With this, we come to the end of this national webinar on emerging trends in contemporary literature in English, and hope to meet you all soon in yet another occasion. Thank you so much once again. Thank you.
Dear participants, kindly fill the feedback form which is posted in the chat box. At any cost, it will not be posted in the WhatsApp group. So kindly fill. The meet link will be open for 10 to 15 minutes. Thank you, everyone.
The mic off.
Dear participants, please fill the feedback now itself, because the feedback link will not be given in the WhatsApp group. The meet will be open for another 15 minutes for your sake, for your benefit. So fill the feedback so that you can get your certificate. And don't expect the feedback link to be posted in the WhatsApp group. It will be posted only in the chat box now only. So please use this and fill it now itself.
Dear participants, kindly fill the form. It will be open only for 10 minutes. Dear participants, kindly fill the feedback form. You will get your certificates today or tomorrow. If not, you can contact us to our numbers. Thank you. Okay, once again, we repeat, we at any cost will not post the feedback link in WhatsApp group, so kindly fill it now.